inclusion as part of the Brandywine Battlefield National Landmark?
No, it did not.
I have nothing further.
Okay, any further from the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Wise.
Thank you.
Mr. Edelman, you call your next witness?
Yes, I'd like to call Nicole Kline to be sworn and testify, and if I can go off the record for a moment to hand out some exhibits.
Yes, thank you. Greg, am I getting a copy of your already have this? Certain numbers. Do I have any of this? This is all. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Ms. Kline, we're going to have you sworn in.
I do.
Good evening, Nicole. Could you please state your name and business address for the record, please?
Sure. Nicole Kline, McMahon Associates, 840 Springdale Drive, Exton, Pennsylvania.
I'd like to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A28. Is this a copy of your resume or curriculum vitae?
Yes, it is.
Ask the board to take notice of Ms. Kline's expert qualifications as a professional traffic engineer based upon her resume, as well as her licensure and registration as a professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm happy to go through her qualifications if the board or the other parties request it.
Mr. Edelman, are you offering her as an expert in traffic engineering?
That's correct.
Any objection for any member of council or any parties?
No objection.
Okay, you'll be so admitted.
Great. Thank you. Nicole, what is your involvement in Toll Brothers' proposed residential development of the Crebilly farm?
I was hired by Toll Brothers to complete. Sorry. A little loud.
You're loud. Go ahead.
I'm a loud talker. I was hired by Toll Brothers to complete traffic impact study for the Crebilly project.
I'd like to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A29. Maybe I should hand it to you. Could you please identify this document for the record?
This is a transportation impact study for the Crebilly residential development that I prepared, dated October 13th of 2016.
Okay, and did that traffic study also include multiple appendices?
Yes, it did.
Okay, and was that submitted with the initial conditional use application?
Yes, it was.
And do you know if the township reviewed that traffic impact study?
They did.
I'd like to show you what I've marked as exhibits A30, A31, and A32. Can you identify these documents for the record, please?
Yes, they are 3 review letters completed by Kimley Horn on behalf of the township dated December 27th, 2016, February 6th, 2017, and April 3rd, 2017 in review of our traffic impact study.
Okay, and did it also review revisions to the study?
Yes, it did.
Did you respond in writing to those township traffic engineer reviews?
Yes, I did.
And I'd like to show you what I've marked as exhibits A33, A34, and A35. Could you please identify these documents for the record?
Yes, these 3 documents are letters that I prepared in response to the 3 Kimley Horn letters. Our letters are dated January 20th, 2017, March 3rd, 2017, and May 19th, 2017.
Okay, and is exhibit A33 the January 20th response?
Yes,
And did that also include a full revised transportation impact study?
yes, it did with the same date.
And did that also include appendices?
Correct, yes.
And have I included those appendices on a CD-ROM?
Yes,
That's also marked exhibit A33.
yes,
And did you supervise or prepare all of these responses?
yes, I did.
And let's get into a general overview of the studies. What was the overall scope of the studies?
Sure, the overall scope of the studies included the intersections of US 202, PA 926, US 202 and West Pleasant Grove Road, PA 926 and Bridlewood Boulevard, PA 926 and New Street and West Pleasant Grove Road, and the proposed site accesses along US 202, PA 926 and West Pleasant Grove Road.
Okay. And who owns the roadways you just described?
The state owns US 202 and PA 926, while Westtown Township owns West Pleasant Grove Road and New Street.
Okay. And, will Toll Brothers require a highway occupancy permit from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation?
Yes, it will, since there is access proposed to state roadways.
You just mentioned the scope of the studies. Who was involved in determining the scope of your study?
We prepared a scoping application that was submitted to both Westtown Township and PennDOT.
I'd like to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A36, if you could identify this document for the record, please.
This document is the minutes of the scoping meeting that were held after the submission of that scoping application.
And did you attend that scoping meeting?
Yes, I did.
And who else attended the scoping meeting?
Fran Haney and John Otten of PennDOT's consultant reviewer, Chris Patriarca from Westtown Township, Al Federico from Kimley Horn, Michael Downs and Andrew Seaman of Toll Brothers, and myself.
Okay. If you could go into some more detail, and let's go through each of these fairly slowly. Could you describe the existing roadway characteristics in and around the subject property?
Sure. US 202 and PA 926 serve as arterial roadways in the area. New Street is a collector road, and West Pleasant Grove Road and Bridlewood Boulevard are both local roads.
Where were the accesses for the proposed development originally located?
Originally, there was a US 202 right-in, right-out access, a PA 926 access as a new T intersection, and 2 West Pleasant Grove Road accesses with one opposite Dunvegan and one opposite Hidden Pond.
Okay, and if you could, do you have the pointer?
Yes.
If you could come over, grab the remote mic, make sure it's on. We have Exhibit A6 on the board, which is the color rendering of the site plan. If you could go over those accesses again and point out where they're located. I
Sorry, man, this is the best we can do right now.
Go ahead, Nicole. That has a laser pointer, so.
Sure. So along 202, I mentioned a right-in, right-out access, which is located, as you look at the screen, on the right side in the middle of the development plan.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. I appreciate your comments. I can't have you yelling out at the audience.
Before I begin, I'll give a quick reorientation if you aren't familiar with this plan. Route 202 is located along the right side of the development plan. 926 is located across the bottom of the development plan, and West Pleasant Grove Road is located along the top of the development plan. So as I mentioned, the 202 right-in, right-out access is located along the right side of the development on the plan, and about in the middle of the development. I mentioned along 926, a T intersection was originally proposed at a new location, which is located along the bottom of the development plan shown on the screen. And then 2 West Pleasant Grove Road accesses, with the access to the right located opposite Hidden Pond, and the access to the left located opposite Dunvegan.
And since the plan was initially proposed, have you received comments from both the township and/or PennDOT with respect to the location of those accesses?
Yes, we have, from both.
And as a result of those comments, have you analyzed alternate accesses for the property?
Yes.
What have you analyzed?
We have analyzed relocating the 926 access intersection to be located opposite Bridlewood Boulevard, which was a requirement from PennDOT. And we also relocated the eastern access on the right side along West Pleasant Grove Road that was originally opposite Hidden Pond, further to the west in order to meet site distance criteria.
And have those alternate accesses been included in your response letters?
Yes.
Was there comments received from the township with respect to the Route 202 access?
There was. There were comments, and particularly from the engineer and the planning commission regarding potentially removing the 202 access altogether.
And to your knowledge, has the applicant considered that request?
Yes.
Do you know if the applicant would be willing to remove that access?
They are willing to remove it.
Focusing on the anticipated trip generation for the proposed development, have you analyzed or calculated what that trip generation may be?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. And what would that trip generation be based upon your analysis?
Based upon our analysis, the weekday daily traffic generation would be approximately 1,400 vehicles per day. And then we also studied the weekday morning and weekday afternoon peak hours. During the weekday morning, thank you. Lots of flashlights. Yeah, thank you. During the weekday morning peak hour, 223 trips, and during the weekday afternoon peak hour, 266 trips.
And what exactly do you mean when you're referencing peak hour trips?
So as part of our analysis, we're required to study the commuter peak periods for residential development, which in the morning is the highest hour between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., and in the afternoon, the highest hour between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m.
Is that Monday through Friday?
We typically do traffic counts Tuesday through Thursday.
Mr. Aiden, real quick question. Is Ms. Kline referring to a specific exhibit right now regarding the peak hour trips?
Well, no, she's testifying generally, but she can if requested.
I just wanted to see if there's something I could refer to. The testimony goes a little fast when we're talking about the total trip, so if you can just refer me to where I can find that.
Nicole?
Sure. The traffic impact study exhibit contains the information,
The revised one or the original one?
both,
Okay.
but Greg, do you have the number?
Which exhibits you want?
If you give the January 20th traffic impact study
Sure.
exhibit number?
Exhibit A33.
So
Thank
it,
Do you have a page number there, Nicole?
I do, it's page 9.
Thank you, Ms. Klein.
You're welcome.
Was there any other information with respect to the trip generation that you didn't testify to?
No.
And how are those trips proposed to be distributed from the proposed development?
With access to US 202, PA 926, and West Pleasant Grove Road, the site trips would be distributed throughout the study area in keeping with, in general, in keeping with the existing traffic patterns.
And did you do an analysis as to how those trips would impact the surrounding roadways?
Yes, we did.
And what did you conclude?
In accordance with PennDOT traffic mitigation criteria, the development would result in a traffic impact at the intersection of US 202 and PA 926.
Okay, and is that set forth in Exhibit A33, that January 20th traffic study?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and what impact would occur at that intersection?
In accordance with PennDOT's traffic mitigation criteria, there would be an increase in overall delay that would require improvements to bring that delay in keeping with the future without development conditions.
Okay, and what improvements would be required in order to do that?
In order to mitigate the impact of the development in accordance with PennDOT's criteria for overall intersection level of service and delay, it would require the addition of a separate US 202 right turn lane at 926. And in keeping, if PennDOT requires mitigation of the traffic impact on both overall and individual intersection movements, in terms of level of service and delay, that improvement would be a second PA 926 left turn lane and elimination of the split phasing operations of the traffic signal at the intersection of 202 and 926.
And do you have an opinion as to whether installation of those improvements would adequately mitigate the impact?
It would.
And why is that?
It would satisfy the criteria of PennDOT in terms of returning the intersection to future without development conditions.
Do you know whether the applicant has agreed to install those improvements if PennDOT does not install them?
Yes, they have committed to that, and it is outlined in our traffic impact study, Exhibit 33.
Are you aware of any proposed PennDOT improvements at that intersection?
Yes, PennDOT does have a project at the intersection of US 202 and PA 926 that would complete those improvements.
Do you know if that project is moving forward?
In our most recent conversations with PennDOT, it is moving forward.
Have you done an analysis with respect to the right-of-way in that area to install those improvements?
Yes, we have done a preliminary review of the right-of-way, and it appears that it is adequate, with existing right-of-way, it is adequate to complete those improvements.
What other improvements or modifications will you anticipate the applicant being required to do in order to address its impact from the proposed development?
All of the site access designs and construction will be the responsibility of the applicant, and specifically, it is proposed to install a new traffic signal at the site access intersection along PA 926 at Bridlewood, as well as in constructing separate left and right turn lanes along PA 926 to enter the proposed development.
Do you know who will own the proposed new traffic signal at that intersection?
We would anticipate that the traffic signal would be dual ownership between Westtown Township and Thornberry Township, since that is the way the 926 and New Street signal is owned.
Who would review and approve the traffic signal design?
PennDOT.
I'd like to direct your attention back to the scoping minutes. I believe it's Exhibit A36. Did you discuss the mitigation of the proposed development's impacts with PennDOT at that meeting?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Is it your understanding that PennDOT agrees with the proposed mitigation at the intersection of Route 202 and 926?
Yes.
I'd like to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A37. If you could identify this document for the record, please.
This is an email from Fran Haney at PennDOT responding to his review of the draft minutes from that meeting.
Okay, and who is Fran Haney?
Fran Haney is the traffic services manager at PennDOT.
And in that capacity, what is his role with respect to reviewing and approving traffic improvements on state highways?
He leads those efforts for the HOP process.
And Mr. Haney was reviewing your scoping minutes, 836, is that correct?
That is correct.
And did that describe the proposed mitigation improvements at 202 and 926?
Yes.
And what was Mr. Haney's response to your scoping minutes?
His response was, so long as the PennDOT project is constructed commensurate with or prior to this development's traffic impacts coming online.
Will Toll Brothers have to make additional roadway improvements along its property frontages?
It is possible.
If you could expand that, please. What would be required?
There may be some roadway widening needed in order to satisfy the township ordinance street width requirements.
Along which roadways?
West Pleasant Grove Road and New Street.
Have you done any analysis whether there is adequate right-of-way along the property frontage to accommodate the requirements?
We have not, just based on my knowledge, there could be some right-of-way needed to accomplish that along the site frontage.
And could the applicant supply that? Is there enough